in your group. Welcome everybody to this talk. So for those who don't know me, so my name is Laura Winakowski, and I'm an international life and relationship coach. I coach in English, Spanish, Finnish, and Italian. The reason I speak all these languages is because I was born in Finland. I grew up in Venezuela. Then I studied in Boston, then Miami, and now I live in Dublin, Ireland. So I consider myself a citizen of the world, and I love coaching, and I love talking about relationships. So I hope you enjoy the presentation today, and I hope it gives you lots of food for thought. And then you can ask me questions. Ask me questions at the end. So I'm going to start sharing now. All right, so love in the time of Corona. This is like, there's a very famous book called, Love in the Time of Cholera. So now it's the love in the time of Corona. And I've actually said, that, I could write a book about, love, called Love in the Time of Corona instead of Love in the Time of Cholera. So the COVID-19 virus has changed relationships in all ways. With lockdowns and restrictions, people have been isolated and have been in extreme situations of all kinds. Single people have been more isolated than ever and have only been able to meet potential partners online. And people in relationships have had to spend like too much time with their partners without being able to give each other space. So both of these situations are extreme situations. They're extreme situations, for the single people, and they're also extreme situations for the people in relationships. So like the whole dynamic of relationships in general has completely changed. And it's been very challenging. It's been very challenging no matter what end of the spectrum you are, no matter if you're, if you're a single person or if you're in a person in a relationship. So yeah, so whatever your situation has been, everyone has had to have more patience than ever. I mean, I think that when it comes to relationships, in 2020, in the age of Corona, I think that, one of the key words is patience and balance. You have to have so much patience with yourself. You have to have so much patience, with the situation, in the world. And then you have to have so much patience, with a partner or a potential partner in your life as well. And balance, first, finding that balance within yourself in all ways, and then finding balance in life in general, right? Because, like our worlds have been turned upside down in this year. Most people, have been working from home the whole time. And it's really important to find that balance in all ways, like if if you're working from home and, if you live with a partner, if you have a family, if you have kids, we've all had to juggle so many different things and find balance in different ways. So people's limits and boundaries have really been tested now. And it's led to all kinds of feelings of loneliness, fatigue, anxiety, helplessness, hopelessness, despair at the situation in the world. I mean, I know that all those are very, very negative words, but I mean, it's been an extremely challenging year. And I mean, I think that it's important to acknowledge that, once you acknowledge, these feelings, then you can work and change these feelings and turn them around for the better. So no matter what your situation is, it's very important to keep yourself happy and stable in all ways, right? Because with anything in life, including relationships, everything begins and ends with you, always. It's always easy to, to point the finger at a partner or like a potential partner. But you have to remember that the only person that you can ever control in any situation and in any relationship is yourself. You can only change yourself. You can't change anybody else. So like right now and in all situations in life, but especially now, it's very important to keep yourself happy in all ways. Really think about what are the things that you enjoy doing, like do you enjoy reading, singing, dancing, whatever it is. keep yourself happy, keep yourself happy, keep your vibration high, keep your frequency high, because the happier you feel, the higher your vibration is, the more good things you're going to attract into your life. The more you think about what's missing, the more you think about, the chaotic state of the world, and the more negative, feelings you have, you're going to attract those same kind of, you're going to attract negative situations into your life. So focus on the positive things, even now. And yeah, and keep yourself happy, stable, and balanced in all ways. I think that those three things are key right now. Be happy, be stable, and be balanced. So online relationships. So right now in the age of Corona, one of the only ways to meet with all these restrictions and all these lockdowns are to meet people online. So online relationships can be very complicated to manage and handle. Of course, online, you have so many different ways of meeting people online. You have all the dating sites, and you have all the social media as well. So you can basically meet people online anywhere and everywhere. So yeah, so you can meet a lot of people, but of course, like, it's tricky to if you're chatting to many people at the same time, it's tricky to narrow it down to really find somebody that you feel like you have some kind of connection with, right? So once you feel that you've met somebody online that you feel that could have some potential, there are some things that are important to keep in mind. So it's very easy to project all your hopes and dreams onto somebody online, and I think that this is something that we do, whether it's online or offline. Like, when we meet somebody, it's very easy to project everything you want, all your hopes and dreams onto somebody. So I think it's important to try not to do that, to keep your feet on the ground as much as you can. Also, people can pretend to be one way online, even though they are different in person. I think that, online, sometimes people have like these online personas that are not them, like, at all. It's kind of like, sometimes people feel like they're like actors or actresses pretending to play a role, or pretending to be like a certain type of person, when in reality they're not. So that's something important to keep in mind. And people sometimes post, very old pictures of themselves, of themselves. I mean, people post pictures that are like 10 years old, and so there's a lot of, the online world can have a lot of illusions. There's a lot of illusions online. So I think that that's really, really important to remember. And it's also easy to lie or exaggerate things online as well. That's really important to remember too. So always be discerning. Always be discerning when you're talking to somebody online, and look for little clues. Look for little clues, about what this person is like for real. You really have to use your intuition. So one of the trickiest things nowadays is, when you've established some kind of relationship online, and then, when the dynamic of the relationship changes from virtual to in person, right? So it's one thing to have a virtual, relationship, where you're, messaging with somebody, and, talking to them, and video chatting with them, whatever, the dynamics are. It's very different when that relationship goes from virtual to in person, because, when you finally you have when you have a virtual relationship, you have some kind of picture of what this person is like, online or virtually. But then, when you meet somebody in person, then, it's like you have to give yourself time to get to know that person in person again, right? Because when you truly meet like somebody, in person, then you really see if there is that, in-person chemistry, like, yeah, like all those things that, all those elements that you can't feel like online, you can really see if it's there, like, in person, right? Like everything, like how you you know, if the conversation flows, you know, if there's like chemistry, like if you're attracted to the person like in person, you know, because pictures can be very deceiving as well. You know, like some people look better in pictures than in person, and vice versa. Some people look, you know, better in person than in pictures. I mean, there's so many different kinds of variables to this, right? So to truly know, like if you are a match with somebody, you know, you really you need to get to know them in person, and give yourself time to get to know, you know, somebody, you know, in person. And don't jump into a relationship too fast. You know, this can be, you know, very easy, you know, to do as well. And yeah, it's very easy to lie online and make lots of promises. You know, if somebody starts, you know, telling you too many promises too fast, like that's a very big red flag. And keep your feet on the ground. Always try to keep your feet on the ground. I know that, you know, when you like somebody and you feel like you have a connection with somebody, it's very easy to, you know, to get on a cloud and start, you know, making all kinds of plans. And the most important thing for any, you know, relationship to see like if there's potential is, you know, determine if you have shared values, you know. Like shared values are really the thing that will make a relationship like last long term. I mean, of course you have to be, you know, of course you have to be attracted to the person and have that. But I mean, but the shared values is what's gonna determine if there's a future in this relationship, if you can really like take this relationship like to the next level, to see like
What
if
about
there's
opposites attract?
yeah, opposites attract. Okay, yeah, good point. Yeah, yes, yeah, opposites can attract. Yes, I agree with that. But in the long run, you know, like in the long run, the more you have in common, the better. And especially when it comes to values, especially when it comes to values. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, you don't need to, I mean, you can come from like different backgrounds and in terms of, you know, coming from different countries and different cultures and all of that, right? But like you need to have shared values. You need to have like the same things need to be important to you. And you know, and you need to have like similar goals, right? You know, like those things are really really important. You know, like that's what's going to determine, you know, if a relationship has, you know, if it, yeah, if it can go to like the next stage, if it has any yeah, like long term, you know, long term potential. The shared values, like that's really, you know, like if I was to, you know, people make all kinds of lists of like what they want in a relationship or what they want like in a future partner. But like if you do make this list, focus on the values. Like you know, it's important for you to know what are your values, like what is important to you. And like an example of values is, you know, honesty, loyalty, you know, integrity. These are all values, right? So really determine like what are your values, you know, because you need to know what your values are, you know, to be able to determine if, you know, if you have the same values with somebody else, right? So really focus on the values. And if you can, you know, meet in person, you know, for a coffee. And of course that depends on, you know, the kind of restrictions that you have in your area. So so just remember that, you know, it's tricky to take these relationships from virtual relationships to in-person relationships. And I also know that now, you know, with everything that's happening, and even here in internations, you know, you have people meeting from all over the world, and you know, they could be, you know, living in different countries. So of course now it's not even possible to meet in person, you know, because you know, you could be, you know, in Europe and you could be chatting to somebody, you know, in the US or anywhere else. So of course, you know, like no matter what kind of dynamic, you know, the relationship has, of course now with the state of the world, like who knows, you know, when people, you know, can really travel, you know, travel again. But just like try to, you know, try to maintain like that stability and that balance within yourself, right? Like that's the key. That's the key to any relationship. And yeah, and really get to know the person, really get to know the person like in all different ways, like ask, ask questions, and specifically, ask questions about those shared values. Like you don't have to say like, it's not a question, it's not a case of asking them directly. So send me a list of your values, right? that would be a little too drastic, right? Like, okay, I'll show you my list of values and you show me, your list of values. But you can ask different questions, to determine, what somebody values, and even yeah, and even, and asking about the questions, and the person showing you like what their values are. A person will also show you, like at the beginning of any kind of relationship, like a person will always tell you like what they're looking for, right? Like a person will tell you, if they're looking for a relationship, if they just, want to have fun with no strings attached, if they're looking for a relationship to get married, like whatever the situation is, a person will tell you, and they won't necessarily tell you directly with those words. They won't necessarily tell you, I am looking for a relationship, I am looking for an affair, and so forth, right? But they'll tell you like with their words and their actions. They'll tell you like where they are and what they're looking for. So whenever somebody tells you where they are, believe them. But believe them and don't think that you can change them, because you can't, right? I think that that's really, really important to remember, because sometimes, if somebody tells you, oh, I'm not looking for a relationship, I just want to have fun with somebody with no strings attached, then you think, well, you're saying that because you don't know me yet. Once you get to know me and you see how wonderful I am, you're going to change your mind. And that doesn't work. That doesn't work. And it has nothing to do, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the other person, right? So always believe, like when somebody tells you who they are, or when somebody tells you, what they're looking for, believe them. Believe them, because you can't change them. The only person that people only change when they want to change, not when you want them to
May I
change.
say something? I don't know. I miss. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I was late. I came in late. But maybe add something. Maybe say something to what you're talking about.
Well, I was gonna take questions at the end. Can
Oh,
can it
okay,
can it
great.
wait? Can
Okay.
it wait
Oh,
until the
yeah.
end?
Sure.
Yeah?
Sure. Sure. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, like write down your questions so that you don't forget.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So now talking about relationships in general. So what's the most important thing to attract a fun and loving relationship? You need to be fun and loving yourself, right? So, if you're sad and depressed, you're not going to attract a fun and loving person. So always remember that. You're going to attract the type of energy that you are, right? So become the person that you want to be with, right? That's a really important thing to remember. So if you want to, have fun and laugh with somebody, you need to do that first. So when you feel happy and positive, you attract this. These are two happy and positive people together. And when you feel sad and negative, you attract this. There's two sad and negative people together. So the most important thing is to feel complete and fulfilled within yourself, always, like everything. If something is not working in your life in any aspect, whether it's relationships, whether it's your job, or whatever it is, always start with yourself. Like always, align with yourself and really think, okay, what can I do within myself? What inner work can I do within myself to change the situation, in my life, right? Because the outside world will only change when you do the inner work first. That applies for everything. That applies for relationships, and that applies for every area in life. So the most important thing is to feel complete and fulfilled within yourself, like this person, that is, when you feel complete and fulfilled within yourself, then everything in your life will align and flow better in all ways. So the stories that we tell ourselves define our reality. So what story are you telling yourself about love, relationships, and your past? This is really key. And and talking about like making lists, one really important and powerful exercise to do is, write down what story are you telling yourself about you, about love, about relationships, and about your past. This is an exercise that I do with my coaching clients all the time. And it's amazing because, people come to me all the time, looking for relationships. And I always tell them, okay, well, the first relationship that we're going to work on is the relationship with yourself, because that's where everything starts. And then when we start looking at the stories that they're telling themselves, like most of the time, these stories are extremely negative, right? So if you're telling yourself really negative things about yourself, about love, about relationships, about your past, all these negative stories are blocking a new relationship, they're blocking a new love from coming into your life. So you can't change what happened in the past, but you can change the story that you're telling yourself about what happened in the past. So this is really, really important to remember. An example of this is, if you've gone through a breakup, there's two different stories that you can tell yourself. You can tell yourself, you know, I lost the love of my life, and now I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. Obviously, that's a very negative story, and that story is going to block anyone or anything from coming into your life, right? But then another option is you can tell yourself, okay, I had this relationship. We both learned so much from this relationship. And the next relationship is going to be better than the past relationship. Obviously, this story is a lot more positive and it's full of potential. And the other story is, full of obstacles and, it's not going to go anywhere. So really think about the stories that you're telling yourself in all of these aspects. Do they lift you up or do they bring you down? And if they bring you down, find a way to turn these stories around. So again, what's your story? In Ireland, they say, what's your story? So really think about what your story is. And, that story, whatever that story is going to influence, your potential relationships and your future relationships. So positive self-talk, this one is really, really important when it comes to relationships. Really, like, look at your self-talk. Is it mostly positive or is it mostly negative? And remember that the way you talk to yourself is the way that you're telling the universe to talk to you and to treat you, right? So if you're walking down the street, like saying really negative things to yourself, like, I'm a loser and nobody loves me, and I'm too old and I'm too fat and hopeless, then that's the type of energy that you're putting out into the world, right? So that's not positive at all. So if you do have a lot of negative self-talk, find a way to turn it around. And a great way of turning it around is by using humor. You can kind of like laugh at yourself and be like, oh, there I go again, putting myself down. So it's about being your own best friend instead of your own worst enemy. There's so many people, that are their worst enemies, when it comes to self-talk, and it's so important to be your own best friend. Like, remember to be kind and loving towards yourself and put aside harsh criticism and judgments, because the way that you're talking to yourself is, that's the type of energy that you're going to get back. So it's really, really important. So letting go of the past emotionally, psychologically, and physically. you, um, you need to let go of the past for there to be a room for a new person and experiences to come in. If you're holding on to the past, if you're talking about an ex, and if you're holding on to objects, and if you don't want to let go, there's not going to be room for anybody new to come in. So you really, really need to let go. And I know that it's not always easy. It's not always easy to let go, but it's one of the most powerful and one of the most healing things that you can do to yourself, to be able to move on. So make peace with the past and forgive. So it's important to make peace and forgive everyone in your past, but the most important person to forgive is yourself. You know, many times it's a lot easier to forgive other people, you know, like your ex-partners, and it's really hard to like forgive yourself, right? So it's really important to forgive yourself for like any mistakes that you feel that you made, like in any relationship. So happiness comes from within and is found in the present moment by making peace with the past and looking forward to the future. So tips to date safely online, you know, since I mentioned the online dating, and since online dating is such a part of, you know, love in the time of Corona, this is what you should do online. So be yourself, you know, who else can you be? Just be yourself, you know, truly. Post pictures that show who you really are. Don't reveal too much information about yourself at the beginning to someone that you just started chatting with. You know, get to know somebody, you know, little by little. Like, don't overwhelm somebody with like too much information. Try to keep your feet on the ground and don't start building castles in the sky or romantic fantasies about potential partners. This point is really, really important. Potential friends, not soulmates. Treat everybody that you meet online as a potential friend, not a potential soulmate. This point is really, really important. You're going to feel more relaxed if you see them as potential friends and you put less pressure on yourself and anyone that you meet. Sometimes you're going to become friends and sometimes you're going to become more, but the more relaxed you feel, the better everything will flow. So I think that this is such an important point, you know, because you can meet so many people online and you can start, you know, fantasizing all kinds of things with people online. And, you know, every time you meet somebody that you like, you're like, oh, this can be my soulmate. This can be my twin soul, whatever title you want to put on it. And I think that it's really important, you know, just think of them as potential friends. You know, you can, yeah, you can make a lot of, new friends, but don't think that all of them are potential soulmates or, potential twin souls, because you're just going to drive yourself crazy if you do that, and it puts way too much pressure like on any potential person that you meet online as well. So I think that this is one of the most important things to remember about dating online. Okay, so important things to remember. So the online world is full of many different types of people. People who are genuinely looking for a relationship, people who are looking for affairs, people who are looking for one night stands, and then you have the catfish and the scammers. So it's a whole world out there, and it's important to try to filter these people out when you're talking to them, when you're chatting to them. So how can you tell them apart? So people who are looking for relationships will act more normal and won't try to rush things. They have a genuine interest in getting to know you. They won't tell you crazy extravagant stories. They'll agree to have video calls. They'll send you normal pictures. They'll ask you about your interests, your likes, dislikes, family, hobbies. And if you're in the same city, they'll invite you for a coffee or a drink or dinner, depending on the restrictions that you have in your area, of course. So people who are looking to have affairs will generally tell you upfront what they're looking for. They will tell you that they are married or in a relationship. They will test you to see if you're interested in having an affair with them, and though they can send inappropriate naked pictures. If you're not interested in having an affair, stop communicating with them immediately. People who are only looking for sex or one night stands will generally tell you upfront that they were only looking to have sex, will send inappropriate naked pictures, and most of the conversation will be sexual. Then you have the catfish and the scammers. These are the people who pretend to be other people and use other people's pictures. They'll be extremely good looking. Many times they use pictures of models and actors. There are many spelling and grammar mistakes in their messages. They'll start telling you very fast that they love you and they want to spend the rest of their lives with you. Most of the time they are widowed with at least one child, which they will tell you about so that you feel like you have a bond with the child. And many times they are stationed in dangerous places as military personnel. They use pictures of the military a lot because people tend to trust military figures. So how can you tell them apart? So once they feel like they've established some kind of bond with you, they'll say that they had an accident and need some money. Often they ask for small amounts first, like an Amazon gift card, and then if they get a small amount, they ask for bigger amounts. There are many variations to the things that they say happened to them. They have an accident, they need to have an operation, they got robbed, their child needs medical attention, etc. They can't have video calls and make up all kinds of excuses why they can't have a video call. If they do agree to have a video call, they can put videos up of the person that they are impersonating. You need to be able to have a conversation with them, and then which doesn't happen, and then they blame a bad internet connection. They are master emotional manipulators. They will say everything to get you emotionally involved with them. In extreme cases, they will ask you to sign some kind of document saying that you are their fiance and their next of kin. Never sign any kind of documents. They can use these documents to blackmail you, and if you send naked pictures, they can also blackmail you with these pictures. So never sign any documents or send naked pictures. How can you catch a catfish or scammers? If you suspect that you're chatting with a catfish or a scammer, the best way to catch them is by doing a reverse image search on their pictures. You can Google reverse image search and you will get several sites and apps which do reverse image searches. You put their picture in and do the reverse image search, and you will get a list of places where that same image has been used. Many times you find the social media accounts of the real person who they're pretending to be. If you get results, then you know that you're talking to a catfish and can stop communicating with them. Reverse image searches work most of the time, but you can still be talking to a catfish even if you don't get any matching results. Romance scams, a big multi-million business. Romance scams are a very big problem and a multi-million business. Scammers are trained in what to say, and they work in groups as well, talking and scamming many people at the same time. Thousands of people worldwide, both women and men, get scammed each year. The scammers are everywhere online, dating sites and social media as well, like Facebook and Instagram. They tend to prey on lonely older people, but anyone can be targeted at any age. So red flags. If someone is telling you very extravagant stories with many pieces not adding up, then you're probably talking to a scammer. If they can't have video calls and always make up different excuses, if they're recently widowed with one child, and if they can't have a phone call. So never do these things online. Never send someone that you haven't met in person any money under any circumstances. Don't send naked pictures of yourself because they can be used to blackmail you. And never sign any kind of documents from someone that you don't know. So online stories. There are many online stories. You have the happy stories and you have the bad stories. Many happily married people and in relationships met online. So it is possible to meet somebody nice online and have a lasting relationship. Whatever kind of experience you have online will also be influenced by the type of energy that you put out. So always be aware of your own energy and intentions, which is the only thing that you can control. So final thoughts. So whether you are meeting people online or in person, always be aware of your own energy, your intentions, your thoughts, your beliefs, and your expectations. The more aligned you are with yourself and with life and the universe, the more you will start attracting amazing people, events, and circumstances into your life. And this is something that I talk about all the time, and I've seen amazing things, amazing things happen in my own life and in the lives of my clients and in the lives of my friends. The more aligned, the better you feel within yourself, the more aligned you are with yourself and with life and the universe, and the happier you are doing your own things, that's when somebody will like appear in your life like magic. There's a saying, that when you meet somebody when you least expect it, right? And the reason for that saying is that it's like when you're happy within yourself, like doing everything, doing things for yourself, and you're not desperately looking for somebody to show up, then that's the type of energy that will attract somebody special into your life, right? So that's where that saying comes from, that like you meet somebody when you least expect it, and you meet somebody when you're not even looking to meet somebody. So vision boards, create your future. So I love doing this exercise. This is an exercise that I do with all of my coaching clients. So you create a vision board with images of the life that you would like to create. You go through magazines and you cut out images that you like. You think about the different areas of your life: relationships, self-development, career, travel, hobbies, health, finances, social life, family, fun, and creativity. So you go through magazines and you cut out the, images that you like, and then you can, paste these images on a big, piece of cardboard, on a big poster board, and you're basically making like a collage of like your, your perfect life, like your dream life. And the great thing is that, even if you have a dream and you don't know like how it's gonna manifest, it's okay. You don't need to know. You don't need to know how it's gonna manifest, because the most important thing is that you need to know, what you want. You need to believe that it's possible. And you also need to believe that you're worthy of receiving whatever it is, that you want to receive. So, you create this vision board, you put it in a place, where you're going to see it every day, like your bedroom. And you visualize yourself, like achieving all of these things, on this vision board. And I've seen amazing things happen with vision boards. Like I had one client, that she manifested everything in her vision board in a year, and she put very big things there, like she put that she was going to move to another country, get a new job, buy an apartment, get a new boyfriend, and she literally did everything in a year. Doesn't always happen so fast, but it can happen. It can happen fast. So that's a great exercise. That's a great exercise for everybody to do. So stay open to magic. Stay open to magic and life surprising you. Life is full of surprises and life is full of magic, but you're only going to find the magic if you believe in the magic. So I offer coaching sessions in English, Spanish, Finnish, and Italian. If you want to get in touch with me for a session, my email is lauracoaching@gmail.com. My website is lauramenenkoski.com. So thank you. I hope you learned lots of things and got lots of food for thought. And I can take questions now.